All right, we'll have a future night on In Focus, and thanks for coming on. Democracy Development Program Director Dr. Paul Kiriuki recently wrote an opinion piece where he says there is a general sense that traditional politics and representative democracy fails to attract the attention of young people. He says the youth often turn to civil disobedience when frustration reaches unbearable proportions. For more on this, we are joined now by Interim DA Youth Federal Leader Nicholas Nyati, ANCYL Gauteng Coordinator Stanley Letsoalo, and EFF Gauteng Student Command Chairperson Matimba Ngobeni, who's joining us on the line. You can be part of the conversation and weigh in tonight on 072-110-5584, or you can tweet us tonight at Newzroom 405. Good to have you, and thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
And Nicholas, good to have you as well online. Maybe the first question is, as we come out of that insert where the IEC is encouraging young people to register, are young people going to register to vote? Stanley?
No, most definitely. I think young people are the future, and obviously they know that they have a pivotal role to play in the country, and I believe that young people would want to determine their own future, and as a result they would obviously want to see themselves participating in the decisions of who should lead the country. So
where does this view come from, that young people only would turn to disobedience instead of participating in the democratic processes?
I think that that's a view that suffers from selective amnesia, because for an organization that we are leading that would obviously have a huge population, would have an appreciation of the constituency that we are leading across the country. And we believe that from where we are standing, young people are not disobedient. Young people just have an opportunity to exercise their constitutional right.
Nicholas, are young people decision shapers, or are they just recipients of decisions made by the adults?
Thank you very much, Prutabo. I think I will also touch on your first question. To answer your question now, young people are decision makers, but what this government has done very well is to make young people believe that we do not have power. And they've not only done this with young people, but they've done it with each and every South African. You see this with the stats that speak about the voter turnout, to come from 86% in 1994 to our most recent elections where we only had 66% of people voting. Those are symptoms of an unhealthy democracy. And that is mostly because of politicians and people who have made politics unattractive. I want to speak about what my brother spoke about when he was answering your question about young people. I think young people can see free future, because with this current government, there will be no future with young people. Young people are hungry, they're unemployed, they don't have jobs, they're getting excluded from institutions of higher learning, and they feel helpless. I think it's a responsibility not just of us as politicians to remind them of the power of their vote, but a responsibility of each and every civil society, media, to tell young people the power of their vote. All over the world, anchoring governments have been toppled with the youth vote. We've got about 12 million young people that will be eligible to vote. In the last elections, ANC only got about 10 million votes. If young people were to come together, they can actually change their futures for the better.
Out of the 12 million, how many young people do you have within the structures of the DA?
The DA, the last time I checked, our membership was sitting at about 15,000, but there's a reason for this. Most in the DA, you do not automatically belong to the DA youth when you sign membership for the party. And secondly, what we've done as a DA youth structure, we've chosen a different path to say, you don't have to sign a political membership, but get involved in your community as a young person, working together with the DA.
So what are the ratios? I mean, if you're saying you've got 15,000 in membership, what does that translate to in terms of votes?
In terms of votes in the party internally, there are many young people. Remember how the DA defines a young person is anyone under the age of 31. South Africa speaks about 35. So out of those 15,000 young people who are active members, I'm speaking about active members who go and do door-to-door. I'm not just speaking about 15,000 people who support the DA. But if we're to speak about the votes and the amount of young people that actually support the DA, then the stats would obviously be greater than that. I would even argue and say we are close to 50% of young people who constitute part of the DA.
6 million.
This is not me.
Yeah? You mean 6 million or part of, are you saying that 12 million young people who are eligible to vote, you've got 15,000. How many of the 12 million do you say you've got in terms of their support, maybe not membership?
Remember the 12 million that I'm speaking about is your unregistered voters. Right. So this is young people who are saying, I'm not interested in politics. But the unfortunate thing is that they might not be interested in politics, but politics is interested in them. I can only honestly answer that question to say, how many out of that 12 million have we been able to capture after we've closed the registration campaign? Just this week, I was in Craydog, a forgotten town of Craydog that is famous for the Craydog 4. If you look at the infrastructure, if you look at the amount of young people that are unemployed and uninterested in politics, it is appalling. So those young people in Craydog are part of that 12 million. Yeah. Last week, I was in Esada, in which you'll see there are young people there who are not registered to vote. So we are going out as a political party to go and tell them that there is 12 million of you out there who are unregistered to vote. Come and join the 15,000 of the DA or any party that believes that we can remove this ANC government, this uncaring government, and let us vote or register to vote for change.
Matimba Ngobeni joining us on the line. Matimba, there are 12 million unregistered young people. So those are the ones who are saying, look, we're really not interested. How are you harvesting that 12 million as the EFF?
No, thank you very much for hosting us. Let me take this time to greet the President and CIC of the EFF, Commander-in-Chief, and also to greet the chairperson of the province, Nicholas Nyati. Look, later, people are not voting, young people specifically, because previously they used to vote and nothing is happening. There is no change. So they have tend to lose interest in casting their vote. But outside that, there is still a portion of young people who are not even interested in registering to vote. The EFF this year has declared a massive voters registration and also a political education. So we register these young people and at the same time we give a political education in the reasons why they must vote for the EFF and why the EFF is the only alternative in the South African politics.
Yeah, but the biggest issue is young people need a platform where they can influence policy. I can see them voting for political parties, it's one thing. But the 12 million that are not interested are saying, where would we be able to influence policy and decision-making concerning the welfare of ourselves, our education, health, policing, and socio-economic challenges that we are facing? Where do you point them to? Where is that platform? Not just the EFF. Yes, the party is the party, of course, and you agitate as a political party. But where are you making that impactful change in policy that young people can actually say, there we can see our hand in that policy decision?
My brother, you will understand very well that the EFF remains a home of young people. That is why even our leaders, they relate better to us, other than these ones of MC where they do not understand the current conditions of young people. So in the EFF, youth, especially, they find a chance to participate in politics. Even in parliament, by the way, there is a lot of young people who are making sure that they represent us very well. So it's only the EFF where you can find majority of the youth. Even the state has proven that a lot of our votes, they come from the youth because our struggle is very close with the youth of South Africa.
Yeah. I'm talking, for example, internal party processes that hinder young people, right? You've got old folks, the Mzwanele Manis, Eugene Mtetwas, coming into the party and being taken to parliament. What are young people saying about that? Don't they sit and look and say, shouldn't they be taking younger people into those platforms to influence those policy decisions?
In the EFF, when we deploy young people, automatically they have a responsibility to make sure that they push in the parliament. That is why young people they have the committee of higher education, whereby they push for the cycle to achieve free, quality, and well-resourced education. Of course, there's other committees where you can find EFF young people there, and they're doing very well. They always speak on behalf of young people.
Now, we are also joined now on the line by Dalsi Manganye. She represents the IFP's Youth Brigade here in Gauteng, the provincial chairperson there. Dalsi, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. Where are young people finding platforms to influence policy, right? Except being just recipient of what the mother body would be doing and what the mother body would be deciding?
Good evening, viewers and the presenter, and also my fellow colleagues. Young people, particularly in the IFP, do find a voice to influence policies within. If you remember, about a few months ago, the Youth Brigade launched the private members bill through Parliament, through the Parliament, the caucus for the IFP. We launched the private members bill in advocating for young people to be a priority in employment rather than foreigners. So we are actually playing a major role within our political party, not letting the old guard decide for us, but us advocating for young people. So we do have a space, we do have a voice, we do have an influence in policies that are made within the party.
Yeah, how is that program finding expression within the party? What is the mother body saying about that as far as the question of unemployment, which is a national crisis, especially youth unemployment?
Well, we received positive feedback from their mother body. In fact, they did assist us to go to our branches, our constituencies, in explaining that what is it that we are looking for as the Youth Brigade, or what we expect the government of the day to do with regards to unemployment of young people. You see, when you go to restaurants, you see foreigners, most of foreigners are employed more than South African youth. So what we are saying is the Youth Brigade is saying that if a company or if a restaurant is going to employ a young person, at least they must make sure that that young person is South African. And if they are going to employ a foreigner, it must be because a young person from South Africa did not come forward. First priority should be given to South African youth.
Right, Stanley. I mean, that probably is a program that we also saw the ANC at some point marching forward to say we must give jobs to locals, which is a strange thing because it's the ANC that is in government. But the young people within the ANC, never mind the fact that the ANC Youth League is only now going to go to its conference, have not been able to push that kind of idea in the prioritization of young people, or even come up with any other creative ideas around dealing with employment.
Look, my brother, I think maybe let me just zoom into our own provinces, Gauteng. The ANC Youth League in Gauteng participated in some of the initiatives that you see that are being implemented, because you would know that when we go to a conference, we do have certain policy positions that we do take, and part of those... So
Ignacio Spani is part of the Youth League?
Most definitely. It's always been our idea. We've always said that the leadership that has been duly elected in this province should look at the question of youth unemployment. And as you can see for yourself, the leadership that is there is actually implementing those resolutions which emanate from our provincial conference of the ANC.
Yeah. But Matimba will tell you that Nasespani is just electioneering. They don't believe that it's actually a solid policy position that is being advanced by young people. Matimba?
Just to enter on that part, Nasespani on its own is a program whereby the ANC wanted to hijack and give volunteers of the ANC because we are going to the 2024. But the EFF in the province led by Commissioner Ngobeni intervened and invited all people who are looking for jobs, and all the centers, they were full of people looking for jobs. And it raised concern that even this post of 8,000 is not enough. It's not enough at all. And even those CVs that were submitted there, we saw pictures that it was so under the dustbin, because automatically they have their own people. But we trust that the EFF will make sure that in the legislature, ensure that there's a proper process in terms of approaching this.
Yeah, it wasn't a proper process. And what was the thinking around it? For example, if you look at the scope and the need for employment in the province, 8,000 doesn't even begin to touch the surface.
Look, firstly, let's appreciate the fact that our Premier, Comrade Panyaza Lusufi, has actually indicated that there's more that needs to be done. And the unfortunate part is that there's no appreciation of the fact that he's the only premier in the entire country that would have demanded that all departments across Gauteng provincial government to actually open these opportunities to young people. And I find it quite interesting that my colleague here would, fellow fighter, would then allege that this program was more of for electioneering. I can tell you on good authority that there are actually young people who are not even affiliated to any of our political parties who are actually going to participate in these opportunities presented to them.
Yeah, what do you make of this? I know the Premier has come out to say this is all lies, in fact, this thing of CVs being thrown out.
No, most definitely. The unfortunate part is that there was no evidence which was produced. In fact, people only cropped out a video and they didn't provide the full clip of what actually transpired. But if you go back to the very same person, Zamogusha's Facebook page, you'll see that he convened those people that he would have collected CVs from, and he would have explained and issued out a statement as to what really transpired. So I think we must treat matters with all fairness. We must not just be selective in terms of which story seems to be true or not.
Interim DA Youth Federal Leader Nicholas Nyati, ANC Youth League Gauteng Coordinator Stanley Letsoalo, EFF Gauteng Student Command Chairperson Matimba Ngobeni, and Dalsi Manganyi of the IFP's Youth Brigade in Gauteng. And they are, of course, talking about the challenges that young people are facing in politics. Nicholas, the international study that was recently released by the Progress in International Reading Literacy shows that 81% of grade 4 learners in South Africa are unable to read with meaning in any language. Right? And we know how the education outcomes, of course, are directly linked with the challenge of skills and employment in the country. I'm not hearing what young people are saying around this. I mean, the minister's best solution is stop buying kids sweets and presents, buy them books. Look, I'm not making light of it, but is that the best that we could come up with to address this particular matter?
But the ANC has reached the expiry date, and they're prophesizing that it's their exit. I think the biggest challenge that we have in South Africa is governance. These people don't know how to govern. Let's speak about what you're saying with the grade 4 learners. The language aspect of the reading aspect. The reason why we are facing that is because our government never invested in any form of education, whether it is basic education or higher education. In the Eastern Cape, up until this day, you still have schools that use pit toilets, schools that do not have chalkboards. You have teachers that do not even attend class, and you would expect that a child is able to go and learn. The solution that these people have is to say they want to take power from the SGB. And this goes directly to your question to say, how are young people influencing policy? For the past month, there has been a bill that has been going around South Africa with the public hearings from Parliament. The Bella Bill, the Basic Education Bill, which speaks about the language policy that we are speaking about, which speaks about the fact that our children cannot be able to read any language. And we saw numbers and numbers of young people going and attending these hearings. But that number was not enough, because the youth that we saw there, it was mostly youth from your affluent schools, but not young people from your rural schools or your schools and townships. Perhaps that is something that we also need to look into when we speak about the voter education. So it does not just speak to your political party. And I want to clarify my brother. I let him speak. When he speaks about Panyaza being the only premier that went to his departments and said they must give jobs, he must not come and mislead South Africans. The department or any department in Gauteng will not be able to absorb all unemployed youth in South Africa. How you create jobs for young people is by creating a suitable environment. It speaks about governance. Create a suitable environment where investors are able to come into that province or into that city and invest. That way you are creating an atmosphere where people can actually get jobs. Let us speak about the stats. The lowest unemployment stats in South Africa are found in the Western Cape. The highest chances of a young person getting a job, it is found in the Western Cape. This is due because we say we are fighting everything, or with everything in our power, to ensure that the people of Western Cape have access to clean water. About 99% of residents in Western Cape have access to clean water. That speaks directly to government. We speak about wanting to be off the grid, because this uncaring ANC government introduces something called load shedding. Load shedding is more than just shedding lights. It is shedding the dreams and aspirations of young people. My brother seems young here. Young people are getting excluded from institutions of higher learning. Today I was receiving calls from students to say NSFAS has not called them. That is the national government entity that speaks directly to education of young people. We have unemployed government. What did the ANC government do? They went and hired engineers and doctors from Cuba. Yet we've got our own graduates who are engineers and doctors during COVID-19. So we have an ANC government as a country. I think if we can sort out that problem, we can be able to address all these other challenges. Now, a person will say the DA just likes bringing up problems. Let me speak about what we're doing in the Eastern Cape for the challenge that you speak about, young people not being able to read. If you check in Cape Town, we have invested money in libraries. Libraries belong to local government. We've invested money in libraries. What this will create is an environment where a young person can go and study in the library after school. In Khayelitsha, we have recreational centers where young people can go and read, can go and practice the arts. Because raising a child is not just about education, but it is about a holistic approach. Is the health for this child? Are the lights at home? Is the access to water? And I think as young people, especially in this platform, let's at least be honest enough. My brother there in studio must be honest and say the ANC has failed us. Then you can come and lie about how they're going to change. But do not please lie to South Africans.
Okay, Stanley to respond. Right, you'll respond to that in a moment. But Delcy, why are young people unable to read? What's happening?
Please repeat that.
Why are young people unable to? Grade 4 learners in particular, why are they unable to read with meaning in South Africa in any of the 11 official languages? What are we getting wrong? And what are you as the IFP Youth Brigade thinking should happen there?
Okay, I think where we are getting it wrong is with regards to the libraries. You know, we don't have local libraries anymore. We only have study areas. And also in our schools, we also don't have facilities where there are actually books where kids can read. And also, young people are also on social medias, and also social medias, we don't have platforms whereby we encourage young people to read books, at least online, because we are going digital. I think what we as the Youth Brigade that we are doing to encourage young people to read is to do competitions of poetry competitions that encourages young people to read. And when we encourage them to read, it is easier for them to be able to know how to write. So illiteracy is a very serious problem, especially to our young people, hence the high rate of dropout. So we as the Youth Brigade, especially in Gauteng, we are ensuring that we host talent shows that encourages reading and writing. And in that regard, we are confident that we have made progress as far as the province is concerned, and even the schools that we were working with, they are very happy with us partnering with them.
Yeah. Stanley, have you called the minister and given us some ideas? Not hearing the Youth League, at least task team at this particular point, saying anything about that particular challenge.
Look, we have actually written a paper which would like to share with everyone, just so that they can peruse, because we delved deeper into the issue, what informs grade 4 learners struggling in terms of reading and writing. And what we have discovered was that it also emanates back at home, the contribution of parents in the build-up, and obviously the early childhood development also needs to play a pivotal role in that process. So what we have done as the ANC Youth League, in fact, we have been running this across 3 regions, whereby we actually start assisting at that age, especially from ECD level, just to ensure that we give them books, we give them these video clips of how to spell out, to read and whatnot. So I believe that there's more that can be done, provided that we are given the necessary support. And I must put on record that this was obviously done from an NGO, from a volunteering point of view. But I think there is more that could be done. But just to also respond to my brother Nicholas here, I think he's just moonlighting. We need to separate issues. The NANCY basically seeks to incorporate young people into the system of Gauteng. And of course, there also needs to be an appreciation that there's also been an initiative of where we would have 6,000 young people absorbed into the system to deal with a number of issues. I'm sure you would have seen that we've got those who are dealing with security, those who are dealing with cleanliness. The very same DA which is actually governing in Tshwane. That metro itself is a disaster. And the very same ANC government that my brother is moonlighting about is actually assisting. If you go there, compare the pictures that were there before and now that we have these green army that are actually cleaning that city of Tshwane, which is governed by them, you will see that there's actually a huge difference. But also there must be an appreciation that there's only much that could be done. And Gauteng is a very dynamic province which actually accepts all walks of life from different provinces. And everyone would want to come to Gauteng for greater opportunities. And I think we must strike a balance as and when we debate about this issue to say really what are other provinces doing for their respective citizens, so that we don't just come here and lambast on the ANC Gauteng provincial government, but have a full appreciation of who exactly is benefiting from these opportunities. Because we saw just recently, as these opportunities were advertised, that a lot of young people across the 9 provinces actually wanted a bite of these opportunities. And it says a lot that there's a need for us to actually come together and leave politics aside, but let's deal with the core fundamental issues that are affecting society at large. Because this is a time-ticking bomb. There's no time for politicking. Yeah. Let's come up with solutions and let's deliver.
Certainly. Nicholas, I saw you. I'm going to come to you in a moment. But Matimba, what are you saying on the question of education and what you would change in the education policy?
No, look, my brother, I think at this point we must be honest to each other. The government of the ANC has not invested a lot in the education system, in a level of primary, high schools, and also in our institutions of higher learning. They have not changed anything. But also we are saying that they are unable to read English. That is where decolonization comes in, because you judge them based on English and Afrikaans and others. But when we go to white people, we don't say white people, you do not know how to read Zulu, Xhosa, and other languages. So it's just a medium of instruction in terms of what these kids they get to be taught. We need to teach them with their own languages. We need to decolonize the education itself. It must reflect the Africanism, and those things that are being taught, it must be a true reflection in terms of what is happening in the ground, in terms of what is happening in the country and international.
But what would you suggest as a national plan, right, to address the reading crisis?
What we can do is that we replace English as a medium of instruction. You will see that young people, they can read Zulu, they can read Xhosa, they can read other languages. But if you are going to judge them based on English and Afrikaans, we are going to get it wrong. Teach them with their own languages so that they can prove how capable they are in terms of reading.
So according to you, you're saying the reason why, because, I mean, they are unable to read with meaning in all the 11 official languages. So you're saying the reason why they cannot be able to do that is because the medium of instruction is English.
Yes, my brother. Look, and white person is being taught mathematics with English. You expect a stronger guy also to be taught mathematics with English. Who's going to excel between the two? That is why the 1976 generation, they were correct when they were saying that we do not want Africans as a medium of instruction.
Right. Nicholas, I saw you raising your hand there. You do not agree with Stanley here on some points, but I want you to weigh in on what Matimba is saying on how we could have a national program to address the literacy crisis.
I think, Kutaba, the biggest problem that we have, perhaps, as a country, that we do not have a united vision. We always look at the symptoms and the logistical approaches. I think the basic vision should be that each and every young person must get quality education. Now let's concentrate on the basic education sector. Number one, government needs to thoroughly reinvest in the Department of Basic Education. And when I say reinvest, remember, you still have schools that do not have textbooks. It's already June. Textbooks haven't been delivered into schools. You have schools that just last month were not getting food in KZN, where young people from impoverished background who only go to school because they have hope that they can get something to eat. Their food was not being delivered. Those ones who were lucky enough to have the food delivered, that food was expired. So if we can fix those basic things, remove the toilets in schools, textbooks must arrive on time, and you put in food feeding scheme, because that, number one, motivates a child who has nothing to eat at school to actually who has nothing to eat at home to actually go to school. Then the second aspect, you've got so many unemployed teaching graduates. Let's take those graduates, young graduates, and reinvest them into the basic education sector. That will do two things. Number one, you're giving them employment, and number two, you are fixing the challenge that we have. Because unfortunately, the whole world is moving with technology, is moving with time, but our basic education sector is not doing that. But this is an important aspect because it will need a whole society approach. So what happens from that child or to that child after they leave school? Is there a recreational center in their community? Is there a library? Is there something to eat at home? And as the child grows older, if you look at our matriculants, majority of our matriculants do not even pass matric, which is set at like 30% for you to pass. And this is because we have allowed the education sector to be dilapidated, and we've allowed it to be unionized. Now you've got great organizations. I was speaking to a friend of mine today. You've got great organizations like Ikam Valentu. I was speaking to Sipoko, where they take matriculants, and during the June holidays, they teach them all the subjects to help prepare them to pass their exams. And that is the whole society approach that we need. Now, to respond to Stanley, which I don't necessarily want to do because I think he came here just to defend the ANC. We can never, as a young people, say people are coming from other provinces. That's why Gauteng has got a high unemployment rate, or people from other provinces are coming to Gauteng. Each and every person in South Africa has a right to go anywhere in the country. Secondly, the reason why people are running from other provinces and seeking better opportunities in the Western Cape, or in this case, as he wants to claim it, Gauteng, is because we have allowed Eastern Cape to fail. We've allowed Limpopo to fail. We've allowed Northern Cape to fail. We've allowed Northwest to fail. We've allowed KZN to fail. Who is governing those provinces? It is the ANC. So I'm happy that he said that, because he's admitting that the ANC has failed majority of our provinces so much that the whole economy depends on certain provinces. Now, a person might argue and say, but Nick, what will you do if you were to take over the Eastern Cape as the DA? As the DA, number one, we've already passed a resolution and to say we would decentralize NYDA, where we concentrate on your regional structures and what contributes to the economy at that regional level. If I'm speaking about the Eastern Cape, when I speak about trade-off, invest in tourism, invest in infrastructure, immediately you're creating jobs. Secondly, stop load shedding, because it's killing South Africans, particularly young people. Make transport available. Where are integrated transport systems? We have them in the Western Cape. Why are we not having them all over the country?
Right.
What that does is that it allows a young person to get closer to opportunities.
Let's leave it there. Quick, Stanley, response. 30 seconds. Got to close.
Look, I think the most important thing that needs to really happen is that we really need to invest from an ECD level. And I think that we need to be able to review a structure called QLTC, which was initiated by the Department of Basic Education. And I think if we could do that, because the primary role of it is basically to monitor the quality of teaching that is provided to our learners. I don't want us to waste time on things that are impractical. I think that we have a situation now. What is it that we could do now? What results can we produce positively?
Appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. Interim DA Youth Federal Leader Nicholas Nyati, ANCYL Gauteng Coordinator Stanley Letsoalo, EFF Gauteng Student Command Chairperson Matimba Ngobeni, and Dalsi Mangani of the IFP Youth Brigade in Gauteng Chairperson.